But it had to be you. Had to be you. I wandered around, finally found somebody who.
It was a sad, sad thing that happened to Carole Landis.
Miss Carole Landis, stars so many successful Fox productions, now to be seen in Orchestra Wives.
Carole Landis was a huge Hollywood star, appearing in multiple movies. She had everything. She was beautiful and talented with a thriving career. But at only 29 years old, she still had many goals and desires in life that would sadly never come. On July 5th of 1948, Carole Landis was found dead on the bathroom floor of her Pacific Palisades home. Her death was ruled as a suicide by police, but many, including her family, believe that she was actually murdered by her lover, Rex Harrison, who at the time was a married man. Today, we are going to be discussing the mysterious and troubling death of Carole Landis. Before we do, please do not forget to like and subscribe. Thank you for watching and enjoy. Carole Landis was born in 1919 on New Year's Day in Fairchild, Wisconsin. She grew up with 3 siblings and was raised mostly by her mother, Clara. Carole's birth name was actually Frances Lillian Mary, but at the age of 15, her name was changed to Carole Landis in order to pursue an acting career. Acting was something Carole had always wanted to do, and the name Carole was inspired by her longtime idol, Carole Lombard. Carole wanted to run straight to Hollywood, but she knew she would have to save up some money in order to get there. She worked a job as a hula dancer and posed in hundreds of photos as a pinup girl to provide an income for herself. Carole earned her first breakout role in the classic film A Star is Born. Although the role was minor and she had very little dialogue, it did open up many doors for Carole. Some of her most notable films were 1 Million BC, Hotspot, Having Wonderful Crime, Topper Returns, Roadshow, Moon Over Miami, and I Wake Up Screaming. Carole was married a total of 4 times and had multiple relationships, most of which were to men that were all very powerful, wealthy, and well-connected. Out of all of her relationships and marriages, the only man she is said to have truly loved was her 3rd husband, Thomas Wallace, who was a United States Army Force captain. Carole said, quote, "No woman ever loved a man more than I loved Tommy Wallace, and Tommy loved me too. All my life, above all the rest, I want to remember that," end quote. Although the two loved each other deeply, they would soon fall apart because of how little they saw one another. Thomas also wanted Carole to end her career in show business and stay at home as a proper housewife. The two did not see eye to eye on this, and they ended up divorcing in 1945 after only 2 years of marriage. Carole would sadly never have any children, as she was diagnosed with endometriosis and could sadly not conceive a child. Everything would unknowingly become dark in 1948 when Carole met an English actor by the name of Rex Harrison. Rex was widely known for his successful acting career, and you may recognize him from films like My Fair Lady, Cleopatra, and Dr. Dolittle. Rex and Carole seemed extremely drawn to one another and saw each other non-stop. The problem was that Rex was not a single man. Rex was married and had a wife named Lily Palmer, who was a German actress and writer. Rex and Carole would try to keep their relationship a secret, and they would try to diminish their relationship and say they were only close friends, but many in Hollywood at the time knew about their affair. The affair was even speculated about in multiple columns and articles. It seemed that Carole was not pleased to be in a frivolous affair, and she wanted Rex to end things with his wife. Many times Rex would tell Carole that he was in fact leaving his wife, but it seemed he would never follow through. Carole was certainly frustrated and stuck in a very difficult situation. She loved Rex, but she was exhausted and no longer wanted to be the other woman. On the 4th of July in 1948, in the early afternoon, Carole held a pool party that included her closest friends. Little did they know this would be the last time they ever saw Carole alive. By the next day, Carole would be gone forever. A few hours later in the evening, Carole's friends left her home so that Carole could begin getting ready for a dinner she had planned with Rex. These dinners were pretty typical for Rex and Carole. In fact, it was the 7th night in a row that they had shared dinner together. Once Rex arrived, the two sat down and ate a cold roast chicken, a tossed salad, and a lemon chiffon pie for dessert. After the meal ended, the two began to engage in an argument, which resulted in Rex ending their relationship and storming out of the home. That same night, Carole reportedly was so upset, she packed up a suitcase filled with all of Rex's belongings, along with every gift he had ever given to her. Carole then drove to the home of Roland Culver and dropped the suitcase off in his driveway. Roland was also an actor and was a mutual friend that Carole and Rex shared. The next day, on July 5th, at approximately 3:00 p.m., Rex Harrison showed up to Carole's home. Rex was met with Carole's maid named Fannie Mae, where he then would express concern for Carole's well-being. Upon entering her home, the two found Carole lying on the floor unresponsive. Rex knelt down and found that Carole did have a faint pulse, but instead of calling an ambulance, Rex insisted that they look for Carole's address book, which contained the phone number to her private doctor. Rex had insisted on doing this to avoid any public scrutiny from the tabloids. When they were unable to find the address book, Rex left Carole and returned to his home. He then telephoned a man named Daryl Danuke to basically help with damage control. During this time, the maid Fannie Mae was unsure of what to do, and she ultimately decided to run to a neighbor's house and ask them to call 911. Once the police arrived, Carole Landis was pronounced dead at the scene. She was only 29 years old. After an autopsy was performed on Carole's body, her death was ruled to be a suicide from an overdose of a prescription medication called Seconal. The amount of Seconal in her system was 4 times the amount needed to stop her heart. Carole Landis was buried at Forest Lawn Memorial Park Cemetery in Glendale, California. Rex Harrison attended her funeral along with his wife, Lily Palmer, which, might I add, is so insanely disrespectful. Although Carole's case was closed, there were many, especially her family, that were not buying it. Her family has been very vocal about Carole's death, and they believe that Carole died at the hands of Rex Harrison and that he somehow poisoned Carole on the night in question. This is such a complicated case because there's so much evidence that points both ways. There's evidence to support that Carole could have ended her own life, and then there is a ton of evidence that points to Rex and a possible murder, so I really do not know what to believe. Unfortunately, this was not the first time that Carole had attempted to end her life. She had done so about 2 times before, but was stopped and was luckily intercepted by her friends. There was a suicide note that was left at the crime scene that was written to Carole's mother, and there was supposedly a second letter written to Rex, but it is only speculation as no one has actually seen this letter. Her family firmly believes that this was not a suicide, and they believe that Carole was poisoned. The family points the finger at Rex, claiming that he was frequently in Carole's home and he would know exactly where to find her medication. I think the most alarming factor was the actions that Rex took following Carole's death, or lack of, I should say. Rex waited several hours before alerting anyone that Carole needed help. The fact that Rex chose to do nothing when he felt Carole had a slight pulse, that should be a charge on its own. It's his responsibility to call for help in that situation. It doesn't prove that he murdered Carole, but what it does in fact show is Rex Harrison is a terrible human being. The other big issue had to do with the suitcase that Carole dropped off at the mutual friend's house, Roland Culver. Roland said that when he learned Carole had passed away, he called Rex Harrison on the phone. From there, he took the suitcase along with all the contents inside of it and burned it in a fire. I don't know if this was Roland's decision to do this, but something tells me that Rex was behind this decision. There was also supposedly a suicide note written to Rex that was inside of the suitcase, but at this point, because it was burnt, we will never know. And unfortunately, unless someone else has information, we will never get those answers, because as of 1990, Rex Harrison has since passed away. Carole Landis was a very beautiful woman, very talented, and what I find sad was that she really did not get all the fame and attention she really deserved. A lot of people believe that the reason she didn't land big roles was due to a relationship she had with a major, well-known agent in the business. After she broke things off, it was said that he completely scrubbed her out of Hollywood, and her career was never the same because of it. Carole Landis will be remembered not only for her contribution to the film industry, but she will also be remembered for the large role she played in supporting troops during and after World War II. Carole traveled thousands of miles all over the world to provide entertainment and happiness to troops that were suffering and in great trauma. It was reported that Carole visited a total of 250 military bases during the war. She would show her full support even at times when she was sick herself and was experiencing health problems. Carole is now considered a dedicated, unsung hero and top supporter for her efforts during the war. And that is going to be it for me today. Thank you so much for watching. Please do not forget to like, subscribe, and ring that bell, and I will see you next time. Ciao.